Hi, everyone. This is Stewart Swerdlow, and I'm glad to welcome you to the very first Global Men's Group meeting. And it's something that I have been asked to do for a long time, but I was very resistant to do it. I generally like to have the men's group face-to-face, but then I would get emails from people all over the world telling me that they wish they could come here, but of course, logistically, it wasn't possible, but they would still like to participate in the men's group. And so circumstances worked it out for me, and it turned out that I decided to start the teleconference for the men's group and allow people from all over the world, all men, to be able to participate in this. And you, gentlemen, are the very first group who are online right now being recorded, and there will be others who are in time zones where it's very late right now, and so they will be listening in a little bit later, but they have sent their questions in already, so I will be dealing with them also. So welcome to everybody. It's very exciting for me to be here with all of you, and I'm glad that you're all with me. It's a very good thing for us to do at this time of the history. There are many questions that we have about what it means to be a man in today's world. It's actually it's more than just body parts, actually. So, and actually, I'm hoping that all of you listeners out there are actually men. I'm sure that I can't check over the line who is who, but I hope that you're being very honest. We as a society are being pushed towards androgyny. There are women who are looking and acting like men. There are men who are looking and acting like women. And there are some men who feel threatened by what is happening. And they retreat to their childhood conditions. Some of them are waiting for a mommy figure to take care of them. Others become isolated and try to be off the grid, so to speak, or out of the line of society. And unfortunately, we live on a planet where there are many delusions, distractions, lies, and programs that are running that keep men from knowing their true self. But how do you express your real self? Where do you fit into society? That's the question that I hear from all over the world, no matter what country, no matter what religion, no matter what culture. This seems to be a question globally. Now, should you be a father, a husband, a son, a brother, a coworker, all of the above? And should you have your own business or work for other people? Does that make you any less of a man if you work for other people and you don't have your own control over your life? Does being male mean that you should be aggressive and powerful? Or is there another side to being a male? The bottom line is that we each need to be who and what we are, no matter what that is. Don't allow the desires of others to control what you should be. I see out there so many men, and when I say men, I'm talking about males anywhere from late teens to 101. All of these people have lived their lives based on what others wanted them to be and not what they wanted to be. And that's a life of misery and restriction. For example, there are many mothers who tell their sons what profession they should have. There are guidance counselors who do the same thing. You even get tests sometimes in school. I think now it's kind of common in high school and in university where they give you tests, and then the tests go through a computer, and the computer decides, based on your answers, what profession you should be, whether you even heard of that profession or not. But this often conflicts with what we want to be as males and what we want for ourselves. So we spend a lifetime in situations that we don't like. And when you don't like a situation over decades of time, what happens is you get resentful, and held resentment makes you sick. It can give you cancer. You can have a stroke. You can have a heart attack. Why do you think all these men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, all getting sick, heart attack, stroke, cholesterol, high blood pressure, all of these things happening? It's because they're not happy with who and what they are. So ask yourself, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to see? Etc., etc. You should be asking all these questions of yourself. And here's the good news. There are no wrong answers. Because whatever you want to do is right for you. When you're happy with yourself, you project that happiness out to others. When you're unhappy, that heavy energy hangs around you, and it makes you very unwell. We'll use that term. I'll tell you a story about myself. When I was growing up, and I had a mother who was very, let's say, controlling, a little manipulative. Sorry, Mom, but she won't be listening. But, she wanted me to be an accountant because she believed that people should do whatever it takes to make money and get ahead in the world, whether you liked it or not. At first, she wanted me to be a dentist, but there was no way I was going to stick my hand down the mouth of other people, gloves or not. And so she convinced me that I should be an accountant because one of her best friend's husband was an accountant and he was very wealthy. So I went to school and I studied to be an accountant, even though I did not want to be that. I got good grades and I passed and I even got a job. But you know what? For about a decade of my life, I was extremely unhappy. I hated getting up in the morning. I hated going to work. I started to resent everyone who depended on me for it. And little by little, I decided, I'm not doing this because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life when I'm, 70, 80 years old, and I look back and I say, okay, what did I do with myself? I was an accountant, and there's nothing wrong with being an accountant if you like that, but I didn't like it. I wanted to go into work that dealt with the mind, that dealt with emotions, that dealt with people and how they live, because I didn't like what I saw in the world. That's what I really wanted to do. But at the time, and even now, there were no schools, there were no degrees that you can get that were recognized or even not recognized that you could use to do that kind of work in the world. I had to basically go through a lot of misery and trouble, which I'm sure you've all read about in my books, and in order to get to a point where I could be satisfied with myself knowing I'm doing what I want to do and need to do and not doing what other people wanted me to do. So that's a very key point that I want to express to you as far as being a male in this world. You're going to be called upon by a lot of people to take care of them, to do what they need you to do, and very often this will conflict with what you need to do for yourself. Not everybody in the world is supposed to be married. Not everyone's supposed to have children. Not everyone is supposed to have the conventional lifestyle. So don't feel that you have to, and don't compare yourself to other men either, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different mind pattern, a different purpose for this world. It takes all kinds of people to make the world and society. And so you should be who and what you want to be, regardless of what anyone else says about it. And it does not matter how old you are, or where you live, or what religion you are. Everything can be changed. Even now, I don't care if you're 90 years old, you can have a life right now and change it to the way you want it to be. I don't care if you don't have money or you feel like you're stuck someplace, and we're going to discuss that during these questioning period. But you can do anything you need to do. And right now, I would like to get to some of the questions that most of you have sent in, and I appreciate all of the questions that you sent in. And before I answer them myself, I want to get your opinions on them because this is a men's group, and we want to support each other. So it's not just what I say, it's what all of you say, because you know what? Some of you might have answers that are really good, better than what I could offer. So that's what this is all about. So you can get into the queue of answering a question or having a new question by pressing *6, which will let us know that you have a question, and then you press the number 1, and that puts you in a numerical order. So the first one who does that is up next, and so on and so on. So we'll get to you in the order in which you press *6. Or if you want to comment on anything that I say, you also can press *6. Total freedom. We just can't all talk at the same time because obviously there's a lot of people on the phone right now, and we need to have some kind of order. Also, I would like the questions, if you have new questions other than the ones I'm going to be reading, I'd like them to please pertain to men's issues. Some of you have sent in questions that maybe pertain more to the inner circle format, and that's okay, but for this particular teleconference, it should be a question particularly for men's groups and men's issues. And there are a lot of you, so please be patient. We will get to all of you as best as we can in the time that we have allotted. And I'd like to go now through the very first question. Oh, by the way, when we do unmute you and you do ask your question or give your answer or opinion, please state your first name and where you're from, because there are a lot of people with the same name out there, or a lot of people from similar places. So in order to identify you and distinguish you, it would be helpful if when you answer, you state your first name and where you're from. Okay? So are there any comments before I start the question? Any comments that anybody wants to make before we get started on the questions? Remember *6 and then number 1. Okay, I guess you don't. Very silent group, so I'm going to get started then with the questions. And some of you asked some pretty long questions, and some of them are actually backup or history before I get to the question. So I'll do the best I can to keep it as concise as possible. So let me do this one here. As a young man, I prided myself on my reaction time. I was physically and mentally agile, at times even graceful. Now, facing the reality of my aging, I have come up with a new definition of myself. And the definition is I am now responsible, or more to the point, able to respond. This is more an affirmation definition because I struggle daily with my soft body and sluggish mind, and I find very little motivation to improve myself, and even less motivation to share myself with others. I am most comfortable in my isolation, but I fear I'm coasting to a dead stop. My question is, how should I find the motivation, or where and how and why should I find motivation, the inspiration to apply what I've acquired, both in the physical and spiritual worlds, towards anything more than my own comfort? So I guess if I could bottom line this question, he's saying he's kind of got a little comfortable with himself, interested in his comfort, in his age, which, I don't think he's a very old person, but he needs some motivation. Why should he do anything differently? So what do you guys have to say about that before I give my answer? *6 and then press the number 1. Your chance to participate. Otherwise, I'm going to have to just give my own answer. Okay, we have somebody from a 301 area code. William, are you there?
This is Bill W. And just a comment.
Hi, how are you doing? Can you speak up? It's kind of low.
Okay, this is Bill W. from Akron, Ohio.
Hi, how are you doing?
And me and all my friends we were just looking through Hyperspace Helper. Sounds like a whole bunch of insulation.
For this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, insulating from the world.
It's tough to rise up every day and look yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I have to say, and I will defer any more comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for giving that response. Anybody else want to respond to this? 714 area code.
Paul here in Orange, California.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Stewart. So this guy, actually, he wants to get out of his isolation. Is that what he's saying?
Well, he's looking for motivation. He's actually comfortable in his isolation. And
right.
He fears he's going to come to a dead stop, like he's just going to be in a rut. And so he needs some motivation. He doesn't know how to get that motivation. Or should he? He doesn't know if he should get motivation.
Well, it seems to me that if you need to turn on that motor of getting yourself moving, basic stretching, just standing up and reaching for the sky. But I didn't really see a reason why he wants to get out of his insulation. So really, that was my question. And I had never heard the term insulation before, really. So anyway, but that was all I really wanted to say.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Adam.
951.
From
951. And did you guys hear? Adam from Corona, California.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
I don't know exactly what that person meant by that word, but how I see that, at some point not long ago, I think I was in a similar state, and I felt comfortable with my life and where I am and what I do, and I didn't need anything and anybody, I thought, even though I live with a family, I love them. I just found a comfort zone. I said, this is good, it feels great. But like he's asking the question, I also felt, there's something missing in it, and that's why we keep asking those questions. What is missing? And I just, by coincidence, just tried to help strangers, totally strangers, financially actually, and I helped those people and felt so good. And I found a passion in it, and actually I found myself going out to people to try to help them because it's fun. It's simply fun. Maybe sounds selfish, but it is actually fun. And I got outside of that comfort zone and try to expand it now, just because it feels good.
Well, that's very good. I appreciate that, because when you do something good for other people, it does make you feel good, and it also motivates you to do something good for yourself, because the people that you help are actually a reflection of you. So what you do for others, you're really also doing for yourself. So that's a very, very good point, and I appreciate that very much. And I just want to say, it's really okay to be in your comfort zone. It's quite all right to do things towards your comfort. But I want to address an issue that he mentioned about aging. He mentioned facing the reality of my aging. I want you to realize that it's just a number. I always refer to my uncle, who's 101 years old, lives by himself, drives his own car, shovels snow in the winter, goes shopping all by himself. Okay, I wouldn't drive with him because, he doesn't see that great, but he does drive on his own. And the thing is, he's motivated just by living. Just the fact that he's 101 and he's alive, he's motivated by that, and it makes him feel happy to see his family. So what my point is, motivation has to come from within yourself, and the inspiration to do something more than what you're doing has to come from within yourself. And I do understand the idea of isolation being comforting, but it is a dead end because there's no place to go from there except outside. So what you do and what you want to learn should always be there, because the universe, God-mind, is infinite, and so there should always be a reason, an inspiration to do something new and different. When you find yourself in a rut, do something that you have never done before. Change your routine. Go someplace new that you've never been before. Do something you've never done before. Make life interesting, even if you have to force yourself to do it. Maybe you have a best friend, maybe your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it happens to be. Just go and do something different. Even trying a new food or trying a different hyperspace technique, whatever it might be. When you find yourself getting into this dead end and you need inspiration, stop, ground and balance, and do something different that you've never done before. And I think you'll find that there'll be an inspiration within you that will grow, because there's always something new to learn in this universe. No one can ever say, I know everything now. There's always something new. Okay? I want to go to the next question. Oh, wait, there's one more guy. Three more. Area code 678, please.
Oh, that's me. Actually, I wasn't really the previous callers actually kind of addressed some of the things that I was going to ask, but I guess more or less I was kind of going to agree a little bit in that I do feel that I'm a relatively young guy, and I do feel that whether it's brought on by myself or by my family or by just media or whatever, there is kind of a permanent seeming pressure to always be, as a man, I guess, to always be doing something more, to always be achieving more than what you are. I think so. I can kind of agree to a certain extent that every once in a while you do get in this rut where you almost feel like, well, that there isn't anything more I can do, or you don't feel powerful because you're not achieving what media or what society deems you should be, this ideal man or so to speak. So I guess therefore it does kill the motivation sometimes. So I guess I would be interested in hearing hearing what you had to say about that also, and then how to try to get out of that rut and how to find your own motivation and feel more comfortable with yourself and what you can offer.
That's a very good point, and especially today when people are having difficulty finding work and even paying their bills, it's very difficult to feel like you are an accomplished man, or that you are satisfying your goals and your responsibilities to yourself and your family. Yes, I understand that. And especially when they tell you things will get worse, higher prices, more unemployment, and then you kind of want to give up, and then you go into your little comfort zone and you go into the cycle that repeats over and over. And so basically what I say is not to pay attention to what you're hearing on the news or from people around you, because you know what? Even if they tell you there's no jobs or you can't find a home, whatever they tell you, that's the mind pattern they want to promote in society, to keep people down, keep people weak, keep men weak so that they can't fight back, they can't take their power back. That's what they want to do to men, keep them down like slaves. So what we each need to do is not pay attention to what the general mind pattern is out there, and reorganize our own thoughts and know that it only takes one job that we need. It only takes one buyer for a house. That's all we need to attract, and then we have accomplished what we need to accomplish. You just have to change your mind pattern and do affirmations even to reorganize the way you think into something that will direct you to your goals. Do not pay attention to what the general consensus is out there, because that's why you see it on the news every day. 58% of people say this and 90% say this. Well, who cares? Who are those 90%? Did they tell you who they are? I think most of the time they make up the numbers anyway so that you think certain things. That's what the media is doing, so that we are told what to think and how to feel. And that is what causes a lot of this depression and a lack of motivation and inspiration and giving up, because we're told to do that, just stand there and let the wave wash over you. So we need to stop that. We need to go back to our core self, do our mental work, feel the power that is within us, not an aggressive or negative power, but the power to know that we have the God mind within us, and so we are capable of doing anything that we so desire. We are given free will, and we can do whatever we wish. And that alone can be a motivation and inspiration to get out of whatever cycle you're in at the moment. Okay. Next caller. 518 caller.
Hello, Stewart. This is Jeff. I'm in upstate New York. This is my question, so thank you for taking it, and gentlemen, thank you for responding with your insight to it. To develop the question more for myself in response to your responses, it's about doing something with the strength and the acquisitions that I've gained over my years of experience. The shadow side is the guilt that I feel for not providing something back. But the positive side is actually wanting to contribute. Isolation is insulation, as the first responder noticed. But that's born of a solitude that I used to find inspiration in. So maybe this is just a paradigm shift for me in trying to get something going again. I have chosen to do something totally different by participating in this teleconference. So thank you again.
Excellent. I think that you made a very good choice, and you kind of got out of the circle, so to speak, and did something that you never did before. And that's going to break the cycle for you. So good. I'm glad to hear about that. 714 caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, this is Steve from Yorba Linda. And hi. And I'm interested in trying to link up with Paul and Adam at some point, since we're all local here. My question is, I saw you earlier today on the on your website, and I noticed over the years that you've gotten more color back in your beard, and I was curious if you had some comment on how we can reverse the graying, because it seems like you've done it. And
well,
so
I
kudos.
had your question here. Over here. Yeah, and basically, aging is in the mind. You're as young as you want to be, as you've heard before. I actually use the White Dragon shampoo, and those of you who have gone on my site, you heard me promoting White Dragon products from China. It really works. It puts the natural hair color back. It takes a while, but if you shampoo it bad and you use it frequently, it does actually put the natural color back in your hair. And so, as a public figure, I notice a lot of men out there let themselves go gray, and they don't really take care of themselves because they think that men shouldn't do that only women can make themselves look nice. But, since I am a public figure and I am in front of audiences a lot and cameras, I do have to make myself look as good as I possibly can. So I do like to use products that help me to look good. And, of course, if you take the supplements and you do your physical exercise and you do what's good for you, especially detoxing, getting the heavy metals out of your body, doing colonics, ionic foot baths, infrared saunas, all of the unconventional alternative treatments that you wouldn't find in most of society, that really does rejuvenate the body. And also I noticed in your question you asked about gum tissue, how to regrow gum tissue. And the answer to that is CoQ10. If you take between 300 to 600 milligrams, depending on the person, it depends on your configuration, but an average of 300 to 600 milligrams daily, for at least 4 to 6 months, you will see a regrowth in your gum tissue, and also using the visualization of ice blue on your gums, because that's still part of the thyroid or throat chakra. The ice blue will also help to regenerate the tissue in that particular section of the body. So there are many, many things that we can do to make ourselves look and feel younger, but ultimately it's in your head.
Also, you mentioned a couple of years back about when shampooing with jojoba-based shampoo, and to affirm while doing so, while washing into your hair, that basically I'm in control of my own destiny, and picturing the brown merger symbol.
Yes, you can do that. Jojoba oil, and believe it or not, cayenne powder, just don't get in your eyes, will stimulate the follicles in the scalp to regrow hair in a natural way. So that is another method. Remember, the mind pattern is that the hair represents your personal strength. So when we start to lose our hair, or hair turns gray, it means we're becoming confused, doubtful, we're feeling weaker in our lives. And that's why men, when they get older, start to turn gray and lose their hair, because they're starting to doubt themselves, and they're starting to feel like they're not accomplishing what they wanted to in life, and they start to feel weakened by it, and then their hair falls out. And of course that could happen at any age, but more so as you get older and your goals and dreams may not have been realized. So basically, I say, life is eternal. I don't care how old you are. You can accomplish your goals and dreams at any age. Grandma Moses didn't start painting till she was 90, and she became world famous. There's a lot of people out there who really are blooming in their life later, past the age of 40, 50, or 60. So don't look at your age. It's just a number. Go by what's in your mind. Make yourself feel better. You're the only one that can do it. And you will rejuvenate your entire body. But I do recommend to really purge the body of the heavy metals, the preservatives, the chemicals that we've ingested all these years from products that were no good for us, smoking and all drugs and whatever we take. That really destroys the body, particularly the liver, which filters everything, and after a while it just can't handle it anymore. Then the body starts to age. And, I've seen 35-year-old guys that look like they were 60, and I've seen 70-year-old men that look like they were 40. And, personally, I feel better now than I did when I was 20, because I know more, and I'm taking care of myself better, and I think that anyone can do that. Okay. We have Richard, area code 510.
Hi.
Hello? Yes.
I'm in Northern California, Oakland.
Yes, hi.
Area. I have really good luck with trace minerals in keeping the hair from going gray. And,
the trace minerals are very good.
In California, they kind of manipulated us, the politics, it's really against the law to even order or ship in trace minerals. And so we literally have to order them from a quality company and then have them shipped to somebody out of state and then have them ship it into us.
I see.
So it's amazing what's happening to this society. But anyway, there's you look at the periodic table, and those are the trace minerals, and we need about 80% of them.
That's right. That's right.
I take some, and the mineral point, if you have some kind of biofeedback system, is mid-clavicular point infra, just below the clavicle in the middle there. You touch that point, and if you feel a weakness there, it tells you that you need some trace minerals.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm doing that right now. Yeah, it's a little sore, but
The cayenne, by the way, as you probably know, is a vasodilator. And then I'd like to know what is actually in the White Dragon shampoo that makes it so good.
Well, that's the thing. It's a secret formula that the elite in China will not allow out. And so I don't think it's listed on the ingredient label because they don't want other people to copy it. However, I was told by them that it is so completely organic you could eat it without any negative side effects. It's actually almost like food. That's how pure it is. But Richard, while I have you on the...
Yeah, there are a couple of predecessors to CoQ10, by the way, where you wouldn't have to take such a high amount of CoQ10. One is ubiquitol. Mm-hmm. That's a precursor of CoQ10. And then there's another one, it escapes my mind. But I recently just went to a seminar, a conference, and I'd have to look it up. But just know there's a few things before CoQ10 that you probably know about that could help put that in place as well.
All right. And since you're on the phone, Richard, actually, interestingly, your question was up next.
Great.
That you sent in. And your question was my opinion of the most common reason why people want to dive in and consciously want to recycle old disharmonies that have apparently been taken care of time over time again.
It almost seems like they're addicted to the stress of it.
Yeah, they are addicted to the stress, and the thing is, if they keep diving into it, then they really never resolved it or released it. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen over and over again. And so I would tell people that they should look at specific issues and see where they still need to release, and they still are inside of you. So then that's what we need. When something keeps coming up over and over again, we still have it in our mind pattern. Even if we think we have released it, if it's there, then we have not released it. That's kind of the bottom line of the whole thing. Okay. I'd like to hear of any of your stories. All these guys out there, if you can press *6 and let me know what you think of why people repeat things over and over again. I know you all have opinions, but if not, I'll just go on to the next question. Oh, 714.
Yeah, Stewart, I think you've explained this before in that I like your analogy that the mind pattern is the script, the brain is the projector, and physical reality is the screen. That unless the mind pattern changes, the same film clip is gonna play over and over.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Exactly.
So, and I think you've said that psychology has a limited value because unless the people really resolve it and change their mind pattern, they're just going to come back to the same issue. And I actually know of somebody very close that's been to a psychologist for decades, and she got healed from it allegedly, and her psychologist told her in her decades of work, she's had like a handful of people that have actually been quote unquote healed. So most people never rewrite the mind pattern.
Right. That's correct. That's a very good point. And that's why people get sick over and over again, because they never release the mind pattern. They've covered up the symptoms with medication or therapies or whatever they do, but they never get to the core issue and release it. And that's really what my work is about, is getting to that mind pattern, looking at where it came from, and releasing everything that initiated it and the people involved with it. Yeah. Next caller is 954, Alvin.
Yes, this is Alvin.
Hi, Alvin.
I agree with. Oh yes, I'm from Miramar, Florida, and I agree with most of what you guys have said. But particularly the reason why people are addicted to negative situations is because they externalize their problems. Mostly, like they'll say, it's them, not me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's a person. And a particular situation I'm in is whereas my brother he, you know, he has a problem with women. Says that every woman he's been with are bad or lesser than him or not as smart. And I would tell him, you know, it's really your thinking of them that's affecting, you know, your choices. And he says, no, it's them, not me. And then he gave an analogy like, if I put a hand in a bag full of bad apples, you know, is it me that's choosing apples or is it the bag full of the bad apples? So I said, it's your perspective on the bag. And he says, no, it's them, not me. So,
but also, he's the one that picked the bag.
Exactly.
That's a good point, Alvin. That's a very good point, because that, unfortunately, is what I'm seeing out there all over the place, where just people blame other people or situations for what they have created for themselves.
Yeah, and they don't know
the bottom
that
line is we each need to take responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, another
well,
caller.
That's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Alvin. Caller 917, area code, New York.
Yes, hi. This is Marco. I'm actually calling from New York City.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? There's a technique called mammogram processing, which specifically deals with the patterns that people are repeating, and it's been developed by a guy in the 50s who also developed biological immunity analysis, and it strictly deals with the frequencies in your body that your body emits and why you're repeating certain patterns. And it's fantastic, actually, the way it works. It's a quite simple of a process, and you kind of don't want to do more than one session a week because your brain actually gets completely fried on it. It basically deals, why we're repeating certain processes is because our cells are addicted on a cellular level, basically, to drama. And it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, as long as there's a party and everything, the whole universe basically gets set up in the morning, kind of like before you walk out the door, to please your addiction. And unless, as you said, these addictions or attachments to certain things are released from the body, the pattern is always going to be repeating. And quite a few of these patterns are actually inherited also through the blood. It can be from a mother, from a father, from a grandmother, from a grandfather, and they're just passed on generationally because our body is nothing else but electrical transmitters. So it's basically passed on like from disc to disc. But if you guys want to check it out, it's called mammogram processing, but it's on a website called Biological Immunity Analysis, and it's something that really is, I would say light years ahead of any kind of traditional, conventional medicine dealing with the body or anything like that, and the way it's been developed. And the guy also had a phenomenal success healing people, just from cancer and all kinds of stuff, just with specific frequencies that are, put into your body through food or certain supplements and stuff like that. And also addresses what we talked about, like graying of the hair and and all that. Actually, just typically one ball of specific frequencies that you get as your biological code would actually get rid of gray hair. So it's
the thing is, I'd be curious to know if when they do this kind of therapy, if it's permanent or if the mind pattern isn't changed, the original symptom or issue returns.
Sure. I've been doing it for about, I would say, 7 or 8 months, and it's basically like peeling the layers of an onion. It's a layer under layer under layer under layer, but every time you get rid of it, it just feels like, you just feel lighter, and better, and it's very interesting because it's simply you do urine and saliva analysis, and what's fantastic, I mean, the guy actually can tell you at what age in your life you had a certain trauma, and what is it related to, and who is it related to. You know, just from that, you know, looking at the and all your nutritional deficiencies and what you should eat, and you know, that is just very specific with you. And no, you can. What happens is typically that you can recognize the stress pattern coming at you, but you simply, it becomes so obvious that you simply laugh at his face, and then it basically just completely dissipates, and people also start reacting to you very differently. I mean, I kind of stumble into it. You know, I mean, I've been, you know, I've done, you know, a bunch of healings, like hands laying on, reconnection healing, and dealing with DNA and all kinds of stuff, and kind of always looking for an answer, basically completely disagreeing with traditional medicine and always battling. And but so this kind of like came to me, but it's a fantastic tool.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate you telling us about that.
Sure.
And
yeah, well, you guys check it out.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Steve mentioned earlier about how thoughts are like film and the brain is the projector and the physical reality is a screen, so that what we think is what we create, and also we know that what we think also creates our DNA, and so all these patterns are put into our DNA, and then depending on our reaction to circumstances in our lives, we trigger certain things and activate certain things, and then we have these experiences. And I do agree. I think that people should go through any analysis they need to help them identify what the prime cause is, or several causes can be, and they do need to do their release work on all of this. But I'd like to move on. I'd like to move on because we have a lot of questions and a lot of people that we need to speak to. And we may not get to all of them. I'm going to do my very best to get through all of them. But this next section is a little bit sensitive. And that's why I want to get to this and get everyone's opinion on this. Everybody can hear me there, hopefully? So this next person says he will be 70 years old at the end of this month. He had a very strange life. His father was in World War I and was gassed and lived through it. He yelled, and his mother cried, and he had a very difficult childhood with his parents. And this man also liked to dress in his mother's clothes, but felt very guilty about it. And his crazy home life was where people, they had problems. They mostly never worked. They were on Social Security and Section 8. This man says he has not ejaculated in 20 years. He's sexually confused and afraid he's homosexual, but does not want to be homosexual. He's not interested in the gay life, and he wants to clear this up once and for all. And he said he's come a long way to even be able to write this to me. And he knows that my books have been a great help, but he wants to know what is going on here and what he can do to help. So I'd like to open this up to all of you guys and see what your opinion is of this. 70-year-old man used to dress in his mother's clothes. Father yelled a lot. His mother cried from that. A lot of money issues, sexual identity issues. What's going on with this guy? Star 6 and then number 1. Nobody? Is it too sensitive for some of you? Because we got some sensitive questions here coming up. Alvin, you have a response.
Yes. Actually, I can kind of relate to his situation with myself, being that this is a sensitive topic and comfortable talking about it here, that, me too have had, so I guess you could say homosexual thoughts. But even though I consider myself heterosexual, and in my programming scan, it made points on that, and I've never told anyone, never shared it with anyone, that, I'm not the only one that has had this happen. Like, homosexual thoughts would just come randomly, but I always thought of myself as a prominent, heterosexual male. So, and even in my household, like, with my, the house of men, I guess, they would play, homosexual jokes, and then we would make fun of each other with, scenarios about, you're so gay, stuff like that. And then we would say, oh, we're not gay, but, I'm a dominant alpha male. But in actuality, there's some homosexual tendencies that, come in the forefront. And then I would say, your homosexual programming is activated. And then they would just laugh it off. But it's true. And so I can relate to what he's going through, that, he's not gay, but he's having these, emotions and feelings come up. And I think it's an indication of perhaps programming of some sort, subliminally. Because I go through the same thing every day, and it's a daily battle, but I feel that I'm a heterosexual.
Well, the truth is, that there is a large, I would say almost 90+% of men at some point in their life have had homosexual thoughts. So that is actually more normal than not. Of course, most men don't talk about it. They don't want to admit that because it makes publicly they think that they're not men. But these are common thoughts. We are androgynous beings, and we're going to talk about that also in a little bit. But that's actually normal thoughts. And I'm going to give you my answer at the end, but I want to get to this next caller. 518 area code.
Hi, this is Jeff, upstate New York again.
Yes, hi, Jeff.
Your question about your sexuality is brought up, in my opinion, by your desire to want it. You want your sexuality back. And if you're going to talk about a healthy mind-body connection, sexuality is a key expression of that. The social judgments that we've all suffered that make you think that that's a right or wrong choice. I mean, that's what the theme of this conference is about. It's us becoming the men who we are, as opposed to the men that we've been told we should be.
Right.
So, pursue your own passion, and if it's delicate and scary for those around you, then be gentle with them, but find other people to share it with.
That's a good point. Thank you, Jeff. Adam?
Hi, this is Adam. I think the challenge that this person is having, I think it's a lot more complex than I can comprehend at this point. And I'm not going to pretend to understand it even, because I'm no expert and have no experience in it. However, I just wanted to bring up one aspect. As much as I know about history, if you look at like ancient Greece and other civilizations before, I would say to a certain degree homosexuality was just a normal thing. If you even read books that bring up topics from those days, it was very normal for a man to love another man. It was a different love. And he could have a wife to have kids with, but his love to his other man was precious and very different. And I don't think anyone would call it that it is wrong. It's just something changed in our society to call it wrong. And, I teach my kids and myself, do whatever you want, whatever you feel like, as long as you don't hurt anybody on the way doing it. And it matters not what others think about it or say. You just do whatever you feel like, what makes you happy. And if it makes you happy, others will not portray that as anything wrong. Again, as long as you don't hurt anybody. That's all.
A very good point. Thank you for telling us that. And you're absolutely right about history. In ancient civilizations, men loving other men was actually normal, and women were for having children and taking care of the home. And so, and that was even true in Arabic societies, Bedouin societies, and that's very common in ancient history. So that's a very good point. Grant, 212 area code.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I wanted to respond to the earlier question about the 70-year-old man also.
Yes.
I just wanted to express a personal opinion. I'm heterosexual, but I wanted to say to him, my desire for you, just out of compassion for my own male, for males like myself, is just that you be free. I don't want to see anybody suffer. If you're homosexual, or if you're not, or if you're heterosexual with homosexual tendencies, whatever the mixture is, I just want him as a soul to be free and know that there are people like me that would accept him for whatever he is, period. And secondly, I would say if he's never had a chance to talk to other people about this, he should really do so. There is all type of psychological groups out there. One is called Core Energetics. I'm aware of it because I live in New York City. But there's many different places where you can even go in group counseling or individual counseling. And it isn't necessarily that you need counseling. It's simply that you get a chance to express your feelings, your concerns, your worries, your anxieties. And I don't care how old you are. You know, it's something that you might have to face up to, but it's well worth it when you find out that you are accepted for whatever you are. And once you know that, then you can pursue the different questions that you have about yourself, because you're free to express your questions and issues.
Excellent point. And I'll just add something to that and say that, you know, within God mind, everything exists. So everything is okay. You know, no matter what your sexual preferences are, that's okay because it can only exist within the God mind. So I appreciate that. 714 area code.
Oh, hey, Stewart. It's Paul in Orange again, California.
Hi.
I just want to say a little story. I was in a gay bar in Louisiana, and I won the prize. It was a door prize. You know, you got these little tags when you go into the bar. Anyway, when you win the prize, a drag queen gives you your winnings. And so she came on over, and I gave her a big kiss. And turns out the drag queen was straight and really didn't want a kiss. And I just wanted to tell everybody that story. And that's
that's a humorous story. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Richard 510.
Richard, Oakland.
Yep.
I was born and raised in San Francisco, so I had a fair amount of acceptance of this early on. And one of the places on Broadway was Pinocchio's. And people would come into San Francisco and tour San Francisco, and this would be like one of the highlights of the whole trip is to go to Pinocchio's and see men dressed up as women. And so, out of curiosity, I was dancing across the street in a men's club, but I said, well, let's check this out, and I just peeked in one night, and it was pretty amazing how much fun they were having with it. It kind of turned my head a little bit because I never really considered it, looked at it very much. But it may seem uncomfortable at first, but if you can accept yourself and just play with it, have fun with it, you might see a different side that you may enjoy. And if not, then, yeah, you can change if you want, but that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
That's good, Richard. It's funny because it reminds me of a story that happened to me when I was about 21 or 20 years old, when I was dating this girl I knew in college on Long Island, and she lived on Fire Island, which is known for its gay community. And so one weekend I spent with her, and she said, do you want to go bar hopping around? So I did with her. And one of the places we went to was a location called the Ice Palace, which I don't know if it still exists anymore. But in there, I saw all these men dressed as women and men dressed in leather and things I had never seen before. And lo and behold, who was in there but Truman Capote dressed in a wedding gown, all in white. So it was my first experience. And then the next thing I knew, someone was trying to pull me into the men's room, and I was holding on to this girl, and she was pulling me the other way. I felt like I was being pulled in half. It was quite an interesting experience. But I did see a whole other side to life. And, that leads me then to my answer for this particular individual, who said he's going to be 70 years old at the end of March. And you know what? By 70 years old, if you're gay or not. I think you knew that a long time ago, and I think you've always known. So the question is, like all these gentlemen have said, you need to be yourself and be okay with yourself. Everything is okay. There's no reason to, if you feel like you might be gay, well, then you probably are gay, and that's okay. It's totally part of the God mind as well. So don't put yourself down for that. Now, dressing in female clothes does not make you gay, but it means you had a need to control the feminine side of yourself and of others. Perhaps you saw your mother emotionally abused and you felt helpless. So dressing up in her clothes gave her a boost, or it felt like you were boosting her or taking control of her defenses. So being gay may be a need to love yourself, your father, and the God mind, all the male energies that you have had a difficulty with in your life. You had a need to find a way to love them, and so you need to express that perhaps with other males. So do your release work. Please read that Golden Altar release work and do that. Do the child within to get rid of that experience from when you were younger. And, of course, you may have deprogramming issues that need to be taken care of as well. So the bottom line is, please be who you are. It's okay. Whether you're gay, bisexual, heterosexual, it doesn't matter, as long as you are okay with yourself, and that's the bottom line. Don't worry about what other people think. It only matters that you are happy. And that leads me now to my next question here that was sent in from Britain, I believe. And this is from a 32-year-old man who says, I never seem to earn enough money to live, and I still have no financial stability. I cannot afford my own home. I need to be earning 10 times just to get a standard apartment. So I'm living with my parents. I have, of course, tried, and I'm still trying to use the usual work like affirmations, visualizations, etc., but nothing has worked up till now. I feel stuck, and I just can't seem to get out of this situation. What is going on with this 32-year-old man who seems stuck in his life? And I'll tell you, gentlemen, I have heard this from men all over the place, Britain, U.S., Canada, South America, Australia, everywhere. And it seems to be a lot with men in their 30s, although there is no age limit, but it's mostly men in the 30s that I'm seeing this, but they just feel they're in a stuck life, and they can't get out. They have to still live with their parents. They seem no way out of the situation. What should they do? What's going on, gentlemen? What's your opinion on all of this? I know you have opinions. Let's go star 6 and then number 1. You had such good opinions on the other ones. Okay, here's someone. 518 area code. Are you there? 518. How about 714?
Hi, Stewart. It's Steve again.
Hi.
Yeah, I've wrestled with this in and out of my life, being in my early 50s. And part of it, I think, comes from a plethora of things that you've articulated in what I recall. And part of it is a mind pattern, what we grew up and what we set ourselves up to do in our lives. And part of it is maybe that's one of our challenges is money. You know, your personal scans are have been useful in ascertaining what our problems are and maybe pinpointing them and doing release work and some of the other things he described, like affirmations. And part of it may be he's not energetically suited for Britain. I mean, it's not exactly the easiest financial environment in which to be. Maybe he, being that he's young and single, he probably can look at it in another way, that it's an opportunistic time for maybe him to explore and move on. He has fewer ties, doesn't have a family and kids, it doesn't sound like, so that he has the opportunity to maybe go to another part of the world and pursue that. But part of it is, I think, parental, like you were saying, in your own circumstance, needing to be, forced to be an accountant, and maybe he has to look at what kind of career choices he's making. So that's it in a nutshell.
It's very interesting, Steve, that you said that, because part of my answer that I was going to give a little bit later is that, because I see his full name here and his frequency, he does not fit in Britain. He absolutely does not match that energy there, and so he's always going to have conflict and struggle as long as he stays there. So that's a very good point that you brought up. All right, I don't see anybody. Oh, there's one more. Adam.
This is Adam. I can relate to it, guys, firsthand, because I am an immigrant from Poland. I came here about 15 years ago to America, straight to California. I could not find myself out there. I had a wife, I had a child, and I could not find myself. I felt like I'm stuck, no matter what I do, it's wrong, and I can't move on with my life. I felt like I'm not even able to support my family, anything that I wished and dreamed of, what I want to do. And one day we decided with my wife that it's enough. And 30 days later, exactly 30 days later, we were in Los Angeles from that moment. And, wasn't easy to begin with, but it made a huge difference, gigantic difference. That's all.
All right, so you went to a different location and you did better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What do you think the mind pattern is for someone who is stuck like that? What could it be? What is the main bottom line? I'm going to say it's low self-worth issues and even self-sabotage and self-punishment. I think mostly self-worth. So I would ask this gentleman who has the problem, I would say, have you done your golden altar work? Have you done the child within, oversoul work? Affirmations won't work if you don't first clear up the past. So before you put new clothes in your closet, you got to get rid of the old ones. So before you do your affirmations, do your release work and your deprogramming work. Get rid of your old foundations. And are you doing work that you love? So that's the next point, which is a problem for a lot of men out there. As I mentioned earlier, we're all sometimes forced into work that we don't like. We're not happy with what we do every day. We don't like getting up and going every day. If you do what you love, I don't care what it is, if you like street sweeping or if you like brain surgery, it doesn't matter. Whatever you love, do that. And that alone is going to help motivate you to do something that will get you out of your situation. There's another person. 678 area code. You have an opinion on this?
Hey, this is Derek in Milwaukee. I just kind of wanted to add on to what you just mentioned about doing what you love. I have a friend. He's actually my best friend. In a similar situation, or had been in a similar situation. I had always had I guess a genuine level of concern for him because he never seemed to find the right track to get on. He's an intelligent guy, but didn't do well in school. Beyond high school, had all sorts of little odd jobs here and there. None of them what you would call a career. Always struggled with money. and and got to an age when you should not necessarily to society standards be living with your parents, and still was, and eventually he got to a point where he realized exactly that I'm not designed to operate in that wheel, and this isn't what I love to do. This what he loved to do, oddly enough, was he loved to play poker, and he basically decided at a certain point, then I can make money playing poker. People make money playing poker, and I'm good at it, and that's what I'm going to do. And it was a gamble, obviously, but he stopped being concerned with trying to fit into what society was telling him was the right and proper thing to do, and started focusing on what his passion was. And ever since then, he's seen a lot of success. He still has a little ways to go, because he did dig himself a decent sized hole, but it's all turned around for him since he made that conscious decision.
That's actually a good story. Good to know that story. Thank you, Derek, for sharing that. 714.
Hi, this is Steve again. That sort of reminds me of something I feel is congruent with what you're describing in this gentleman. I once attended a series of classes from a British physician and metaphysician by the name of Dr. Douglas Baker more than 10 years ago. And he explained that he helped a lot of adolescent children, and there was a huge suicide rate for adolescent boys. And he said that sometimes people are born into the wrong time frame, in that the first world is too busy. It's too complex for some people, that they're actually more acclimated to a slower pace, back country or another country. And I thought, that might be poignant in terms of one's lifestyle. And that was it.
Yeah, you should always live where your frequency matches. And, especially in a country like the United States and Canada, countries where there's been a lot of immigration from other places, there are a lot of people that really don't match the locations in which they live. For example, I see a lot of people wanting to live in warmer climates, so they move to Florida, Arizona, California, Texas, where have you. But their genetics, their mind patterns fit in a colder climate. And so they think they're going to some new kind of paradise, or a place where they're going to be in a better situation, when in fact they've stagnated themselves because they don't belong in that environment, and it just creates conflict and struggle until they go to a place that does match their frequency. So another thing I tell you guys is where you live. Look where you live. Do you match the energy? Do you match the frequencies there? And you'll know right away, because if you don't, you'll feel like you're walking against the wind all the time, or walking against an ocean wave. It's just always constant battle to just remain stable. So look at where you live. Maybe think of getting a geolocator scan. Do something that makes yourself fit into the environment that you need to live in. Okay? So I want to just add one more thing to this person with this issue, and that is I noticed he sent in his birthday, and of course I can't say that on this teleconference, but just so that he knows, next year's birthday, 2012, for him is the end of a series of cycles, so things are going to change, but he needs to do his mental work to prepare for that change. And now I want to get into a very interesting situation that someone wrote in. This person is in his 50s. He's still single. He said when he was a teenager, he made a deal with God that he wanted to know what was really going on this planet, and he would forego the teenage meat market social scene, according to what he said. He believes that this planet is a field of honor between opposing forces, not so much between good and evil, because all is one, but those two sides are the same coin, but rather it is a battle between those who take more than they give and those who want to give selflessly. Now, I'm going to just make a little comment there. I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say that we live on a planet where it's really between those who want to control and those who are subservient and mindless. That's kind of basically what's going on here. Now he says he has allowed himself to fall in love with a woman. He has a new girlfriend, and during an intense session of kissing, he saw her eyes change to reptilian slits. So his question is, if we are all part reptilian, should I continue this relationship, emphasizing love over sex, committed to giving more than taking, or should I seek another one? And I'd like you to give your comments, and then I'll give my comment. By the way, it's a long-distance relationship because he's in the Washington, D.C. area, and she is in Ohio. So that's very interesting. *6, and then the number 1, if you have a comment on this person's relationship, on what he should do. 714 again.
Hi, this is Steve again. I'm smiling and laughing and hearing that. The reason is that ever since I've studied some of your work and studied you talked about the Riptoid kingdom versus the humanoid kingdom and all of its infrastructure. I've basically chosen not to eat things like chicken and reptilian-derived energetic sources for that. I'd rather nurture the mammalian part of me. And but that's a choice because you said everything is all God mind. So if he, in my mind, then the parallel is if he wants to experience what may be somebody that has more somewhat reptilian genetics, and that's his choice. Just go in with eyes open.
Very good.
That's my comment.
Very good comment. Thank you, Steve. 917. Next one.
Yes. Hi. This is Marco calling from New York City again.
Hi.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in Southampton, close to Montauk right now.
Very nice.
Yeah. But it seems to me like the gentleman actually got what he asked for, through vowing to God, whatever he wanted to get and forego. And now through his relationship, he's also getting some of the answers to what's going on in the world. I mean, I personally have seen the shape shift. I actually worked with some people at the royalty, but they were Malaysian royalty. So it's simply for him the matter is that, as we all do, we get what we ask for, either knowingly or unknowingly. So he chooses to do so, as a previous caller said, because it's all parts of the God mind. But he also, has the will to change it and the power inside him to change it if he doesn't like what he sees. Because ultimately, we all create, what we desire, and the tools are there. So it's he's actually very powerful in the sense that what he created, with what he said he will. Yeah.
Yeah, and the point is that we are all part reptilian. If this particular woman is a shapeshifter, he needs to think about why he would attract someone like that. But of course, he says he believed that he saw her eyes change. So it's not definite that it did. So he has to look at why would he think that he saw that as well. Is he looking at the reptilian side of relationships instead of the whole package altogether? So, of course, as far as compatibility, we need to look at her frequency to see if there's a match there. But generally, long-distance relationships don't work out in the end unless one person moves closer and makes a commitment, And then we have to look at why is it a long-distance relationship? Is it because both parties need to not be so close to one another? Some people like to have relationships where the other person is distant because they can't tolerate that energy around them. One of my sons even is dating a girl who's a lot younger than him, that goes actually to university. And I said to him, why would you want a person so young? And he says, well, I don't want someone around me all the time. I like when she goes away for a bit of time. So, you have to look at those relationships. It's what you want, what you attract. And again, I go back to the release work. Do your release work. Maybe there are abandonment issues, emotional isolation issues that need to be looked at for this person. But certainly, he's in his 50s now and he's still single. When you're single for that long, it's very difficult to then get into a close relationship and live with somebody and have a life like that because you've been alone for so long and you got so used to it. It's very difficult to make that change. I've seen a lot of men and women who, after decades of being alone, get married, and then they're just not happy because they don't want to share their life completely like that. They've had too much time alone. And as I mentioned earlier in the teleconference, not everybody wants to or needs to get married and have children. Sometimes your goal in this lifetime is to be alone. So we have to keep that in mind also. And that let me move on now to the next question, which is something that I really want to hear from you guys, because this person is stating something, he may not realize it, but it's quite powerful based on what's going on these days. And what he says is this: I have a strong feeling that things that I have done wrong and were kept my secret over the 15 to 20 years are about to become known to everybody. Those are my personal secrets, things I'm not proud of that I did in the past. It's not a crime or any sort of thing like that, but for some reason I feel the time it'll be revealed is coming soon and fast. Is it just me or something happening to all, and how to deal with it, what to do? There's a lot of destruction all around the world. People die and suffer every day more and more. While it bothers me very much, and I want to help, at this same time, I feel like I'm getting immune to some of it, or I would say getting used to this situation. I don't think it's okay to feel this way. What to do with this aspect? So what do you think, guys out there? Something in his past that was not a crime, but he feels it could hurt people if they find out. He feels it's going to be revealed. What's going on with this person? Let's maybe hear from some of you who have not spoken up before, if you're okay with that. *6 and number 1. Nobody wants to tackle this one, eh? All right, then I'm going to give you my opinion. My opinion is that is part of the end-time programming that we're living in. If you've been listening to my podcasts, reading my newsletters, seeing my news updates, you know that everything is being revealed now. People, secrets, history, everything that was from the past is being revealed, and it's supposed to happen now. But for this person, there must be something that triggered this response in you. Something you saw, did, feel, hear that brought these issues up and made you feel sensitive to their reemergence. So I would suggest that you send that up to Oversoul. When you feel this way, it means that someone has already known this and is projecting that out. So maybe it already has been found out, and you're picking that up. So it resonates with you. So that also means it's time to release it. This mental and emotional burden that you've carried is holding you back, and you need to move forward in your life. So please do your release work on this. And sometimes when these issues come up, we think they're so terrible and so horrible, but in perspective, they're really not. And plus, it happened in the past, and you were a different person back then. And so if you release it, no further action would be necessary. But definitely something triggered, something you saw on the news, something you heard, triggered this memory from this particular things that you did that is coming up. So send it out the top of your head right into oversoul. No use holding on to that. Okay? So I'm going to move on to a very sensitive area. Again, we keep going into sexual areas, but you know that's what it is. When you're a man, you need to talk about these things because women talk about it all the time, and men don't because they're embarrassed or whatever the reason is. But this also comes from someone out there, and he says, "How can men keep their energy up and their libido strong and their bodies intact in a long sexual relationship?" Anybody have an idea out there? And I'll just add one other part of it. And it says, what does it mean to be a real man? Neither the alpha male type or the impotent type. How do we strike a balance about what is true expression of sexuality for these times for men? And he also wants to know how much sex is healthy in a week for a man. So we have these three questions. How do you keep your libido strong in a relationship? What does it mean to be a real man? And how much sex should you have every week? Okay, 510. Richard.
Hi, Richard. Let's see, Oakland. I'm a health practitioner, so this comes to me a lot from different male clients, and it depends on the person, but on a biochemical level, ginkgo really helps a lot.
Ginkgo biloba?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I work a lot with glandulars, so
good.
They're called Rocky Mountain oysters.
Aha, yes. Uh-huh.
Actually, testicles from a cow.
Right.
And they can be put. You don't have to eat the meat. They're all in capsules, and it's a standard process. It's a company that's been around for 80 years. Combinations of that and working with the prostate. There's various things like saw pimento and zinc really help out a lot. That whole area is the first and second chakras, so you really have to pay attention to your grounding, and if you're in any kind of survival issues, and the emotional, if there's any emotional charge around it, looking at family members, how you feel your self-worth is, your intimacy levels, and being able to get enough exercise, so to speak. A big thing that really affects people on a biochemical level as well is there enough circulation in the area? So a combination of L-arginine and citrulline is really good to clean the arteries, and it's almost a natural Viagra, which is something
like
that actually
a
won the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, nitric oxide formula. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually won the Nobel Prize in 1998.
Right.
Being a real man is what you feel and what you think you are as a man, so to speak. Do you feel like you're a man? Do you feel like you're strong and steady, and you're centered in your work and who you are? And do you have somebody that looks up to you? Do you have a son or daughters that look up to you, or do you feel like you don't meet the qualifications of being a man in whatever terms, whatever a man looks like to you? What do you look at? Is it Tarzan, or is it some characteristics that you attribute yourself as to being a man? All those things, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but that's just a few things I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Alvin, you're next.
Hey, Stewart, this is Alvin again.
Yeah.
Actually, Richard answered most of what I wanted to say, and if this individual follows what Richard suggested, he will see an improvement because, years ago I used to sell information concerning that area down there, and I even used it for me. And with my own experience, some people think that, society standards or in the gossip, as they say, that if you're not packing down there, then you're not a real man.
Right.
So, but that's not true, If you're having sort of insecurities in that area, then that could affect your libido in a variety of areas. And as Richard said, it depends on the person how much sex they think they want, and also depends on your partner who you're sharing with, because one might be, I guess, overly, hungry for sex, and the other's not, wanting it.
Right.
It depends, you have to find that medium balance. So that's all I want to say.
Oh, thank you, Alvin.
All right.
Next one is Adam.
It's gonna sound funny, guys, but I have sex with my wife quite often. Every time she dresses nicely, she gets out of the shower, she wakes up in the morning, gets out of bed, I have sex with her, but in my mind. It happens sometimes a few times a day. A lot of times it's satisfying, and to me, and a lot of times to her, because I can see that in her eyes as well. She knows how it works on me, and we kind of, I think, feel similarly about it. We don't have sex very often physically. I don't think there is a frequency to it that we could apply. I mean, yeah, if we calculate statistically over a period of time how many we had, you could say on average how often. But there is no frequency to it. And it's just this kind of like a mutual feeling of, yeah, we just had it in our mind, that's all. And it was satisfying. I would ask a question, why someone needs to increase that potency in that level? Is it because their partner demands more, and maybe they're not, I don't know, compatible with each other? Again, something they're not understanding each other? Or why would the person want to have more of that? I just don't understand it.
Well, that's a good point, Adam, and that's because society or the media tells people that they're supposed to. They have advertisements in men's magazines about, well, if you're not having sex, 4 or 5 times a week, there's something wrong with you, or if you're not ejaculating powerfully, then you're weak. And so they make men feel that they need to improve everything when in actuality they're really okay with how they are. And you made a very good point, because sex is in the mind. The body just follows what the mind is doing, but it really is energy, and that's all it ever is. So you think, okay, when you pass on and you're going into the non-physical, you're never going to have sex again? Well, of course that's not exactly true, because the expression of orgasm represents, and orgasm and ejaculation represents the release of the God mind when it created all of reality, all of existence. And so when we ejaculate and have orgasm, we are recreating that. And that was an energetic. It wasn't, God didn't have the body parts like we have, but our body parts represent symbolically the energies that God mind released. So you made a very, very good point, Adam, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And now the next one is Steve.
I listened to the doctor, and what comes to mind for me is that he's prescribing a protocol or a set of nutrients that are going to enhance the body. But in my mind, from my experience, there's a couple elements that precede that, and one is, where is the person's body now? And the second thing is, can they absorb the nutrients that they're being prescribed or suggested that they take? And so, I guess for, in my mind, ideally, I should know myself well enough, be able to do my own scan, and, Stewart, you saw the whole scanning program stuff, to be able to identify what is and isn't right within my own, makeup. But the reality is I can't do that myself. So one of the things to which I've turned is the QXCI SCIO technology modality, and that can pinpoint in what things I'm low, and then the person I see indicates what I need to take supplementary-wise. and then whether or not I'm able to absorb them. I've had times in my life where I've not been able to absorb calcium, but I needed it, so I had to get through those problems first. Right. So, I think that a healthy mind is just part of it. And the healthy body, I can't do it myself. I need help. Okay, and very good. So, you at one point, Stewart, had been using the QXCI modality, and I was curious where you're at with that kind of a thing today, because I remember you said if it's a skilled practitioner, you thought it was useful.
Yeah, so. And that's the key, because when you use the QXCI machine, it is very wide-ranging, because it not only gives you what it sees now, it also gives you possibilities, it gives you past, it gives you future. It's kind of timeless. It goes out of time and space. So that's the problem with QXCI, is that it gives too much information, and it can make you really insane trying to cover all that information. So you really need to narrow it down, focus it to what's the problem right in front of you. I think the QXCI is a very good tool to identify a wide range of possibilities, but then you need to narrow that down to the frequency as it is right now. And that is, I think, what most practitioners of this have a difficulty in doing, because it's just too much, and they have to understand time and space and frequencies. And in fact, if they were to add the color frequency of brown into the machine as it was scanning the person, I think that would narrow it down to the current situation that the person needs at the moment. But I want to answer these questions myself, and as far as the libido is concerned, I think that we got some very good information as far as health is concerned. But bottom line is, libido has to do with attraction. If you're attracted to a person, you're going to have the sensation to want to have that relationship, and it should be natural and mutual. You can boost your energetics with nettles, sarsaparilla, maca root. Physical exercise was mentioned. And there are sexual exercises that you can do, which, of course, difficult to describe here, but you can do sexual exercises to boost the ability. What does it mean to be a real man or alpha male, impotent, impotent, whatever it is? True sexual expression is whatever you feel is inside of you. It's all based on the creation of God mind, as I mentioned. God mind is a singularity. It means it's the only thing that really exists, that we're part of that. So, really, all revolves around, I hate to say it, but, masturbation is very important, because that's what God mind did to create everything. He sent it out. He was the only one there. So he basically masturbated. So do not force an expression of sex because you think that's what should be done. Just be who and what you are. As far as how much sex is healthy, there's no limit. It's as much as each person needs or requires. There's no rules for it. Again, do what makes you happy and your partner happy. The next question here is, and it's an interesting question, how do men deal with the androgynous nature of themselves in a heterosexual way without becoming gay? It's an odd question, I know, but I'd like to just quickly answer that myself, because I want to move on to something else. And the answer is, you can't become gay. Either you are or you're not. So we're all androgynous. Androgyny is not gay. It's bisexual, really. And as I've mentioned, all exists within the God mind. There is no right or wrong, just an experience. So don't judge anything. Just do what you feel is right for you. And I want to move on now to another topic here. One here says that this person's always been curious about professional sports, football, European, American, basketball, baseball, hockey. And it seems to be a never-ending cycle. And I'm just going to skim through this question here. Could it be that the creation and growth and popularity of these different leagues is just a product of something innate in us, or is there something else behind it? Is it basically just another expensive distraction by the Illuminati meant to keep the testosterone in the world occupied? Is it used for programming or ritual or symbolism? I ask because I've noticed things here and there that seem suspicious. And here's a good part of the question. And ultimately, why do most women see sports in such a different or less important light? That's a very, very good question here. Any ideas what you guys think? Why are sports so important? What's behind them? What do they mean? And why don't women care for them as much as men do? *6, and then press the number 1. And then I'll give you my opinion after all that. No? Anybody want to? We're running out of time here, so better speak up now. Well, I will just tell you my opinion then. All professional sports are part of the programming and ritual designed to keep the mind diverted from what's going on in the world. The winning and losing is predetermined in professional sports so as to affect the people in that area. Now, I mentioned many times that I used to work for the New York Jets back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I was told who to boost, who not to boost, who to make lose, who to win, etc. Each of the professional teams had psychics working on them for a particular outcome. It is also to evoke sexual ritual. Because look at it. It's always a phallic object and a vaginal object. A bat and a ball in a diamond, hockey stick and a puck and a goal net, football and a goal shaped like a vaginal shape, basketball and a hoop. If you look at sports, it's all about a penis and a vagina, basically, is what you're seeing. And that's why women are not so interested in sports, because it's basically a ritualistic rape. You know, you have the teams, mostly male, all male usually, and they are being aggressive against to get their ball into a round object or get their bat to hit something. So think about that. That's really what professional sports are about. Look how the people get riled up in the stadiums. People get trampled, and especially Central America, Europe, they get trampled to death when there's a particular team that wins or loses. It's like a sex going on, and it's like rape. So think about that. Next time you watch the Super Bowl or you watch World Series, whatever it is you watch, think about what is really going on, back and forth, in and out. It's sex. That's what it is. I have one last question here that I want to read because it's also related to this, and I want to get your opinion. I want to get your opinions on this one, please. And it says here, many of us were circumcised when we were infants, and I understand that's a manifestation of a mind pattern we brought with us. In order to regain at least some lost sensitivity, I'm trying to do the long and inconvenient process of uncircumcising, which uses tape and devices to slowly stretch the skin permanently back over the glands. The question is, if I persevere and complete the process, will it counteract the mind pattern and benefit me after this lifetime, and how so? So what do you think, guys? What do you think about circumcision and putting that back on, fixing that? Richard. You're up next, Richard.
Hi. Okay, so it depends on how far the nerve are gone. Nerves don't generally grow back, but it's anything's possible. Whether the skin can be stretched that much. They have a lot of techniques in India that when I went there, they actually tie their penises onto rocks and heavy objects.
That's painful.
And it's just amazing some of the pictures you see back there. But as far as the ritual, I see it that as you're going to come into Earth and you need to suffer. They need to put you in a place of pain and incompatibility with your harmonious self as a program. That's all I have to share right now.
Okay, I appreciate that, Richard. 917, please.
Yes, hi, this is Marco again. Well, I actually read quite extensively about circumcision. I mean, I'm from Croatia, and we typically don't circumcise there. And I mean, I had a similar situation. I'm married here in New York, and my wife had a son through sperm donor, and he was circumcised. And then, you know, as she was going on, like, if you and I have a child, we should also circumcise him so the other one doesn't think that he's strange or odd, right? And so my response was, why would you hurt another child so the other one doesn't feel like, you know, they're different? So I kind of read quite a bit about it, and the point is, I mean, circumcision is such a violation of a being at the early stage, and it's nothing else than you know, emotional programming, and also changes the brain chemistry. Is what I read quite extensively about. Actually, there's a website called the Doctors Against Circumcision that explains it quite well, like what kind of emotional consequences it has on the subconscious. And typically, they're much easier. People who are circumcised, especially males, are much easier to program and be very easily influenced by pretty much by anything.
Very, very interesting. Thank you, Marco.
Sure.
Steve.
This is Steve from Yorba Linda, California again, and I think, Stewart, you covered this well in the programming mind control DVDs about it is part of the programming ritual, but then the other picture is, you know, we choose to have the parents and have the plan in this instance of our parallel lives, and you know, so do we choose to suffer that way and have that done to us? And then again, it's just part of the mind pattern. So the impact on us, you know, arguably by doing release work, we can work through that and ameliorate that without any, you know, physical things. And the physical thing arguably is a crutch for the resultant mind pattern. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Adam. Adam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. The machine was talking to me, so sorry, guys.
Oh. Okay.
To be honest, I really, Stewart, don't know much about your work because I haven't read your books. I got a couple of your books just a few days ago, like a prep books for a session with you. I've watched maybe a few minutes of one of your recordings on YouTube. So I really don't know much about your work, so I'm not going to speak from that perspective. But I look at this person's situation from just my perspective completely. Is, you know, if you're circumcised, you know, it happened to you. You have it. It is there. And I would suggest, instead of focusing on having it stretched or come back, focus on how to live with it, how to accept it and move on. And, you know, as a matter of fact, be proud of it, however bad it was. How about people that lose their leg or foot? Let's say they get gangrene or something, they have their foot cut off. Do they focus on rebuilding that foot somehow? No, they have to move on, or they will be always suffering. I think the point is just to find a way to accept whatever it is about our body, because it's just a body. And as important as it is for us, I think we can always make it look and feel great regardless of how it functions. That's all. Thanks.
Hey, I appreciate that very much. And Jason, you're up.
Hi, this is Jason in Austin.
Yep.
And that was my question about the circumcision.
Yes.
And so I guess the question is it really worth the trouble to do this? Because, so, you know, the foreskin is gone, the nerves and the ligament are gone, and short of science cloning a new set of that for me, you know, so there is reduced sensitivity for all circumcised men. The glands dries out, and when you recircumcise, it and stretch the skin back over there permanently, which is like a 1 to 2 year process of just this daily setting up the prophylactics to do that. When you finish the process, or actually even just a few months into it of constantly having skin over the glands, it rehydrates the skin and wakes up those nerves. And so there is a benefit just to that from a sexual standpoint. But, the question comes back to, I'm not going to accept that that mind pattern is there, and I'm just going to accept it and leave it there and move on with my life. I want to counteract that mind pattern, and for whatever experience I have after this lifetime, I'm hoping that in fact, is that a way of fighting and deprogramming that mind pattern that caused this to happen in the first place?
Okay. Well, if the procedure that you talk about works, it can only mean that you have changed the mind pattern anyway. So, for example, if you don't have the mind pattern to put that part of your body back the way it was, it's not going to work. So the other point is, as I've been mentioning throughout this teleconference, it's really all in the mind anyway, as far as sensitivity is concerned, as far as being a whole person, what have you. It's really all in the mind, because human beings, our bodies, the way they are now, have been altered anyway, regardless if we've been circumcised, our body shapes, our body parts, all of it has been changed over the millennia, over millions of years, through interference and through, adaptation and that kind of thing. And so we really aren't the way we were anyway. We are evolving to some kind of new humanity, some kind of a new species that we're giving birth to in the process. I think that maybe as far as the sensitivity in that area, it really represents a mind pattern of being sensitive to your creativity, to your expression of creativity. And once you allow yourself to fully express who and what you are in every way, including the creative way, then you will see that the sensitivity returns regardless of whether you've been circumcised or not. I know men who are not circumcised and have problems with their creative abilities in life, and they don't enjoy sex at all. And I know men who are circumcised and express fully their potential, and they enjoy sex very much and have full sensitivity in that area. So really it's in the head. It doesn't matter what the body part looks like. It really matters about what you think and feel inside of you. That's really the bottom line. I understand that some people need a physical representation of this to reinforce it for them, and if that's what you need or anyone needs, then that's fine. What you're doing is not right or wrong. It's just what you feel you need to do for yourself. But the bottom line is, regardless of all of that it all is in your mind. And I think we all need to look at our ability to be sensitive to creativity and to project out thought forms to benefit ourselves and others in a sensitive and rational way. And when we do that, then sexuality will be ideal for us, because we will be representing the true God mind within and how it projected out into all existence. And so we're coming to the conclusion of our teleconference. We just have a few minutes left, and I want to thank all you gentlemen for participating. I really think it went very well, and I think you had wonderful questions, and you were very good in your opinions on these subject matters. And there will be a lot of men from other parts of the world who will be listening in on this, who are not able to make it, as I mentioned, because of the time differences that are very late in where they live. And so they will appreciate also what you have to offer. I would like to hear from you guys to know what kind of subjects you would like to discuss in the men's group, so that perhaps in future men's group teleconferences, we can be specific to a topic, and then over time cover all the different topics that you would like to see analyzed as far as men's issues are concerned. I would like each of us now to do just a little bit of a closing exercise where you just close your eyes, center at your pineal gland in the middle of your head in the color royal blue, balance your T-bar, or center the dot in the circle. Do a couple of cleansing breaths. And I want you now to put a big brown merger through your pineal gland and also through your heart chakra and through your reptilian brainstem. So there's 3 big brown mergers: pineal gland, brainstem, and heart chakra. Want you to visualize silver infinity over your crown chakra. And say now with me, I now merge with all my alternate selves in every universe where I exist, where I am the most perfect male figure that I could possibly be. Pull that into yourself now. I now merge with all my alternate selves in every universe where I exist, where I am the most perfect male figure that I could possibly be, in both body, mind, and spirit. Want to remind everybody that in April, the end of April, we have the Prosperity and Wealth Seminar. In May, we have the mini OMG. All of this you can find on the Expansion's website. And I will let you all know on the website when our next Global Men's Conference will be. I intend to do one per month. And, of course, if you can't make it every month, you can always listen later on. And I want to thank you again, each and every one of you, for a wonderful men's group. I think this was one of the best ones I have ever done in all the years I've been doing it. I appreciate you, and I thank you, and I wish you a good evening, and I will speak to you next time. Bye for now.